Welcome to the Bare Metal Cyber CCISO Prepcast. This series helps you prepare for the exam with focused explanations and practical context. Access control is one of the most strategically important components in any cybersecurity program. It provides the mechanism by which organizations protect data, limit access to critical systems, and maintain operational integrity. Effective access control reduces the likelihood and impact of insider threats, and also helps contain external breaches by restricting lateral movement and privilege escalation. It enables the enforcement of key principles such as least privilege and segregation of duties, both of which are essential to minimizing risk. Access control also plays a foundational role in supporting regulatory and compliance mandates across standards such as PCI DSS, HIPAA, SOX, and ISO 27711. Beyond security enforcement, it also ensures traceability and accountability through identity verification and role management, making it a critical part of both operational security and enterprise governance. The principle of least privilege, often abbreviated as POLP, is a fundamental best practice in access control. It requires that users, systems, applications, and services be granted only the access rights needed to perform their assigned duties, no more and no less. This principle helps prevent unauthorized access, minimizes the scope of potential misuse, and limits the attack surface available to malicious insiders or external actors. Least privilege is typically enforced through role definitions, access control policies, and conditional logic such as context-aware authentication. This principle applies across users, APIs, infrastructure components, and cloud services. To be effective, least privilege must be reviewed and adjusted regularly to reflect changes in employee roles, business structure, and organizational priorities. Failure to maintain accurate privilege levels often leads to over-provisioning and unnecessary exposure, both of which can create exploitable weaknesses in security posture. Access control begins with role and attribute management. Clearly defined roles must align with job functions and organizational responsibilities. These roles form the foundation of role-based access control, or RBAC, which assigns access rights based on predefined categories such as finance analyst or IT administrator. RBAC is widely used because of its scalability and ease of implementation. To introduce more flexibility, many organizations complement RBAC with attribute-based access control, or ABAC. ABAC uses conditions such as department, location, time, or device status to fine-tune access decisions dynamically. Roles and attributes must be accurately mapped to policy rules and maintained within access management platforms. Documentation of access schemas is essential for transparency, auditability, and change tracking. Version control allows administrators to roll back changes and analyze historical configurations, supporting continuous improvement and forensic readiness. Access reviews and certifications ensure that permissions remain appropriate over time. These reviews should be conducted on a regular schedule, often quarterly or semi-annually, depending on risk sensitivity and compliance requirements. The purpose of the review is to validate that access privileges align with current job roles and responsibilities. Reviews should include managers, data owners, or department leaders who can approve or revoke access based on operational knowledge. Automated tools can identify inactive accounts, privilege escalations, or anomalies such as accounts with overlapping roles. These tools streamline the review process and reduce the risk of oversight. Every review cycle should result in documented outcomes, including approvals, revocations, and exceptions. This documentation provides the necessary audit trail to demonstrate compliance during internal or external assessments. Access provisioning and deprovisioning must be tightly managed through well-defined workflows. Provisioning begins with standardized access requests, which should include approval routing, validation of business need, and adherence to policy. These workflows should be integrated with HR systems to automate user onboarding, role changes, and offboarding, often referred to as the joiner-mover-leaver lifecycle. Just-in-time access, or JIT, provides temporary privileges for users who need elevated rights for a specific task or duration. JIT access reduces the need for permanent privileges and lowers the risk of long-term exposure. When employees leave or change roles, access must be revoked immediately. to prevent unauthorized continuation of access. Provisioning logs should be retained and monitored for anomalies, such as self-approved access or inappropriate role assignments. The CISO must ensure these processes are repeatable, auditable, and integrated with identity lifecycle governance. Multi-factor authentication, or MFA, is a critical access hardening control. It requires users to provide 2 or more forms of verification before access is granted, such as a password and a mobile token. MFA is particularly important for privileged accounts, remote access, and sensitive systems. The organization must support modern authentication standards including SAML, OAuth, OpenID Connect, and FIDO2 to maintain compatibility and security. MFA configurations should be reviewed regularly to ensure coverage and effectiveness. Bypass exceptions, if allowed, should be carefully documented and subject to additional monitoring. Administrative consoles, directory services, and cloud management interfaces are high-risk targets and must be hardened through restricted access and enforced MFA. Context-aware controls, such as device posture, geolocation, or risk scoring, can add another layer of protection and reduce reliance on static credentials alone. Privileged Access Management, or PAM, governs high-risk and administrative accounts. These accounts present significant risk due to their ability to bypass standard controls or access critical systems. A PAM solution enforces access boundaries through credential vaulting, session monitoring, and granular access policies. Shared accounts, often referred to as break glass or emergency access accounts, should be checked in and checked out using approval-based workflows. Session recording provides audit trails for every privileged activity, supporting investigation and compliance verification. PAM platforms should also rotate credentials regularly and eliminate static, long-lived keys wherever possible. Ephemeral access models, where privileges are granted only when needed and automatically expire, help minimize standing risk. The CISO must oversee the PAM strategy to ensure that privileged users are monitored, governed, and held accountable at all times. Access logging and monitoring play a crucial role in identifying misuse, verifying policy enforcement, and supporting investigations. All access events should be logged, including both successful and failed attempts. Privileged activity should be logged with enhanced detail and session context. These logs should be integrated with SIM platforms as well as user and entity behavior analytics (UB or SOAR tools to enable real-time correlation, anomaly detection, and automated response. Monitoring should include behavioral patterns such as logins from unusual locations, access outside business hours, or large data transfers. Access logs must be retained according to policy and compliance requirements, which vary by industry. Regular log review, either manual or automated, is essential to detecting violations, misconfigurations, or credential misuse before they result in a security incident. Policy governance provides structure for how access control is enforced, audited, and maintained. An access control policy should define user roles, enforcement methods, review cycles, and exception handling procedures. It must also address emergency access protocols, which are sometimes necessary during incidents or outages. Policies must align with industry frameworks and standards, such as ISO 27001, NISTA 153, and PCI DSS. A mature policy also includes specific references to provisioning timelines, acceptable risk thresholds, and technical enforcement requirements. All policies should be reviewed and updated regularly to reflect changes in technology, business operations, and threat landscape. Access control audits, both internal and external, rely on complete traceable documentation of access decisions and policy application. The CISO must ensure these policies are owned, communicated, and consistently enforced across the organization. The CCISO exam assesses a candidate's understanding of access control best practices through definitions, application scenarios, and executive-level oversight. Terminology such as POP, RBAC, ABAC, JIT, JIT, PAM, and MFA is commonly tested. Scenario-based questions may involve reviewing privileged access, choosing between control models, or identifying gaps in provisioning processes. The CSO's responsibilities in access governance include oversight of certification reviews, exception handling, policy enforcement, and coordination with identity governance. Exam scenarios also examine how access control connects to risk management, incident response, and compliance strategy. A well-rounded understanding of access control best practices demonstrates a CSO's ability to protect assets, support audit readiness, and maintain operational resilience. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Bare Metal Cyber Sideshow CISO Prepcast. For more episodes, tools, and study support, visit us at baremetalcyber.com.